Well, the gun owners of America scored another victory with the anti-gunners. This time, the University of Louisiana down in Lafayette decided they were going to take a building that was downtown, the Science Museum, and designate that as a gun-free zone as part of the school. And not just that, a 1,000-foot radius around it, which encompassed the majority of downtown Lafayette. Jared, why are you bringing this to us? Because Louisiana just became a constitutional carry state. And we know gun-free zones don't do anything for people who follow the law, but make it a target-rich environment because gangbangers and criminals don't follow the law, although the Democrats want you to think they can. So GOA, through one of their attorneys working with them, sent a letter, and it's majestic. I want to read it to you, and we'll tell you what happened right after it. Here's the letter from attorney Josh Barnhill, and it was sent to the Lafayette mayor-president, as well as the interim chief of the Lafayette Police Department, the chief of police at the college, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and the provost vice president of the college itself. He said, "I represent Gun Owners of America, GOA, a nationwide gun rights organization with more than 2 million members and supporters across the country, including throughout Louisiana and within the city and parish of Lafayette." Parish, for those who don't understand Louisiana, that's county. The purpose of this letter is to request that you withdraw your erroneous designation of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette Science Museum and a surrounding 1,000-foot radius as a firearm-free zone, and that certain signage and online maps reflecting the same be removed and corrected immediately. On August 12, 2024, the UL Lafayette Police Department filed into the Lafayette Parish Public Records a notice designating the Science Museum as a gun and drug-free zone. As part of this alleged designation, signage was placed on the Science Museum building located at 433 Jefferson Street in Lafayette, and the Lafayette Parish Firearm-Free Zone map was updated to include the newly designated firearm-free zone, which extends 1,000 feet from the building in all directions, covering a large portion of downtown Lafayette. As jurisdiction for this purported designation, the ULPD states in its notice that the University of Louisiana at Lafayette properties are designed as a gun and drug-free zone, and in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 1495.2, the properties must be posted designating the area as such a zone. Thus, the college PD appears to be relying on the mistaken premise that the Science Museum is part of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette's school campus and is therefore a firearm-free zone. That is not the case. Louisiana Revised Statute 1495.6a defines a firearm-free zone as an area inclusive of any school campus and within 1,000 feet of any such school campus, wherein the possession of firearms is prohibited. Additionally, law states that carrying a firearm by a student or non-student on school property at a school-sponsored function or in a firearm-free zone is unlawful and shall be defined as possession of any firearm or dangerous weapon on one's person at any time while on school campus, or at any school-sponsored function in a specified designated area or within 1,000 feet of any school campus. Both statutes go on to define a school as any college or university in this state and a school campus as all facilities and property within the boundary of the school property. In both cases, neither statute defines the term school property. However, pursuant to LACC Article 11 and Article 12, the words of the law must be given their generally prevailing meaning, and when the words of the law are ambiguous, their meaning must be sought by examining the context in which they occur and the text of the law as a whole. Kind of like a text, history, and tradition. In this instance, the school property that makes up a school campus is best defined as the grounds and buildings of a university, college, or school. This creates a problem for the college PD in designating the Science Museum as a firearm-free zone. First, the university does not own the property at issue. Rather, the Lafayette Consolidated Government owns the Science Museum, and the ownership is reflected not only in the Lafayette Parish Assessor's records, but also the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement entered into by the government and the university on February 11th of 2022, wherein the government, as the owner of the Science Museum, agreed to allow the university to operate the property as a museum. Second, though the university operates the property issue, It is required and restricted under the agreement to operate said property as a museum. Specifically, the agreement states that the university will operate the museum as a natural history and science museum with exhibits and artifacts appropriate for similar museums located in the United States in metropolitan centers with populations of 100,000 or more. Third, the university does not identify the Science Museum as being part of the university's campus on its campus map. Fourth, Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill has clarified that the Science Museum does not fall under the definition of a firearm-free zone. The law on the gun-free school zones is narrow. The Lafayette Science Museum downtown does not fall under it. I want to thank the Lafayette Parish Mayor President Monique Boulay for directing the Lafayette Police Department to refrain from taking actions against law-abiding individuals on the basis of violating this improperly posted gun-free school zone. For these reasons, the Science Museum does not meet the definition of a school campus under the law, and it is not a firearm-free zone under the law. Moreover, even if the Science Museum were part of the university's campus, it is not. The express exception contained in the law protects open and concealed carry in public within 1,000 feet of the Science Museum as a constitutionally protected activity. This is because in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, the Supreme Court held that the Second and 14th Amendments together guarantee individual Americans not only the right to keep, i.e. possess, firearms in their homes, but also the right to bear, i.e. wear or carry firearms in public for self-defense. Based on the Second Amendment's unqualified text, the court describes this right as a general right to public carry, one that applies broadly and with narrow, rare, indeed if any, exceptions. Finally, Louisiana's firearm preemption statute, which was revised this past legislative session through the efforts of Senator Blake Miguez, says, "No governing authority of a political subdivision shall enact or enforce any ordinance, order, regulation, policy, procedure, rule, or any other form of executive or legislative action more restrictive than the state law concerning in any way manufacture, sale, purchase, possession, carrying, storage, ownership, taxation, transfer, transportation, license, or registration of firearms. Any existing ordinance, order, regulation, policy, procedure, rule, or any other form of executive or legislative action in violation of this subsection shall be null and void and of no effect." The government is the governing authority of the city of Lafayette. The enforcement of the designation of the Science Museum as a firearm-free zone constitutes any form of an executive or legislative action more restrictive than the state law, because Louisiana law does not impose a 1,000-foot firearm-free zone around museums. Thus, any action by the government or the local PD to enforce the firearm-free zone around the Science Museum is more restrictive than the state law concerning firearm possession in this location and is null and void and of no effect. Since the original designation of the firearm-free zone by the college PD on August 12th to 24, the government has flip-flopped on whether the local PD will enforce this improperly posed firearm-free zone. First, it was reported that Lafayette Mayor President Monique Boulay directed the local PD to hold off on enforcing the newly designated firearm-free zone. Today, however, it's being reported that the Mayor President is going to enforce the 1,000-foot gun-free zone, stating the college PD is not going to enforce the law on the street. They don't have jurisdiction over Jefferson Street around the Science Museum. The reality is, if it's a school, that's the law. The local PD is supposed to enforce the law. However, for the reasons stated above, any attempt by the local PD to enforce the newly designated firearm-free zone around the Science Museum would be both unlawful and unconstitutional. Should the college PD and Lafayette fail to withdraw this erroneous designation of a made-up firearm-free zone in and around the Science Museum, and should you fail to remove your erroneous signage and online designation, Gun Owners of America has authorized my office to file a suit and seek all appropriate remedies. Indeed, GOA previously prepared such filings against the city of New Orleans prior to that city's rescinding its unlawful designation of a police precinct station as a firearm-free zone. And if you live in New Orleans, like I used to, that's in the French Quarter, that's the 8th District, which is right in the heart of the quarter. We request your response by the close of business on Tuesday, August 27th, notifying us, 1, that you have withdrawn your erroneous designation, 2, that you have removed the offending signs and online maps, and 3, clarifying that there will be no enforcement of any firearm-free zone in or around the Science Museum. Do not hesitate to contact me if it would be helpful to discuss the issue further, or if I can provide any additional information. Please consider this letter carefully. Your actions between today and Tuesday will determine who the defendants are in GOA's impending lawsuit, currently in preparation. Solid letter. It's a typical, it's an attorney's letter, so there's a lot of stuff in there because they need to get all the points. But you know what? It worked. Here's the response. The college police department chief, Tim Hanks, sent this to the clerk of court in reference to the attached documents, more specifically, the letter dated July 24th, 2024, and the subsequent filing of the supporting documents designating the Lafayette Science Museum, 433 Jefferson Street, Lafayette, as a gun-free, drug-free zone. We are rescinding the recent filing. As the result of the recent interpretation of the gun-free zone law, the university has removed the signage at the above-mentioned location. Thank you for your assistance in this matter. So, hey man, GOA does great work. Sometimes they don't have to go to court, which is the preferable action. Like, we want things to stop before they ever become law or ever become a big lawsuit, because that takes money and time. And I know a lot of people are like, hey, Jared, why do they keep asking us for money? All these groups just ask for money. Well, you want them to sue, and lawyers don't work for nothing, so that's why. So when you can stop it at the local, at the very onset, that's a huge win. So good on GOA doing the great work, and good on Attorney Barnell for writing a solid letter that made the government, the local government in Lafayette, and the college go, we done messed up, AA Ron.
You done messed up, AA Ron!
So good on them. Appreciate y'all. Pass this around. Another win in the Second Amendment. Subscribe to the channel. 23% off at blackoutcoffee.com/GNG with code LaborDay20 on everything site-wide. And don't forget, grab one of these shirts if you're on the watch list. If you're not on the watch list, do better. But these shirts, you won't have much longer to get them. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.